Welcome to the Blanket Fort here on Painted Haint Pod. I am your host, Adri Hayes, and today we're talking more of my personal paranormal experiences. This time, though, we are in the Caribbean. So, cue the steel drum music. I thought I would go ahead, by the way, with the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to live up to the travel paranormal aspect of this podcast, which is something that's kind of slipped out of my grasp. So I'm trying to get back into that. So our first story is going to be set on the beautiful island of Jamaica in the city of Montego Bay. So Jamaica has been on my list of places to go pretty much since I was a kid. Since I saw the movie, and I'm about to age myself, Captain Ron. If you know it, you know it. And that's actually the first time I heard Stir It Up and Jammin' by Bob Marley, which are two bangers. So, also what inspired me to go to Jamaica was Treasure Island. Not specifically Muppet Treasure Island. So, yeah. So, fast forward to 2024, and I am sitting at one of the floor-to-ceiling windows of MSC Seashore's dining rooms. Like, one of their dining rooms. And let me tell you something about MSC. I do not have a sponsorship with them, but my God. I will tell y'all need to try them out for a cruise vacation. They're excellent. But anyways, I'm sitting in one of their mini dining rooms, and I'm just drinking in the view. And it is just a tall glass of wonderful. It felt oddly refreshing to see Jamaica in all its glory. Or at least, Montego Bay. So not like all Jamaica, just Montego Bay at this point. So you see, Montego Bay has these verdant green hills. It's just very lush. And then it slopes down into the emerald blue waters. And so it's absolutely beautiful. Like, I have never seen a body of water that made me thirsty. The Caribbean Sea forever makes me thirsty. Whenever I see it, it's like, I want a Gatorade. I want one of those icy blue Gatorades. I'm gonna get one. But Montego Bay, though, is also home to Rose Hall Great House. And I was both excited and terrified to be there. I was excited because I had seen this place on many a ghost show on Travel Channel, and just other, YouTube, stuff like that. And I was like, I'm actually freaking here. But I was also terrified because the stories coming out of Rose Hall are crazy. Like the fact that the people who work there, when they say we leaving at 4 or 5 o'clock, closing down, they're leaving. They're throwing up the deuces. Because, you see, Rose Hall Great House belonged to one psycho bitch, Annie Palmer. And there's a whole entire legend that surrounds this woman. So she was said to be a voodoo practitioner. That's why they called her the White Witch of Rose Hall. Also, she was white. So not like White Witch in the aspect of, oh, she's good. No, she was an evil bitch. Excuse my French. She murdered her slaves, especially the ones she took on as lovers. She murdered 3 of her husbands. Not one of which, but if you look out of one of her windows in her bedroom, you'll see these 3 palm trees. So actually 3 palm trees there. It's not like supposedly, but supposedly that's where her 3 husbands are buried. Even more crazy, and I realized this as I was doing my research, when I did this very crazy video on YouTube while on a cruise. I thought it was so cool, but then when I went back, it sucks. Don't watch it. But while doing my research, I found out that there's a hotel, like I think it's Marriott, has like an entire ass like resort on this land. So like part of the land is, you know, the grounds of the great house, the plantation, farmer sugar plantation. Then like off to the, you know, off to the right, there's a whole resort, and people get married at Rose Hall, and those people are white, because ain't no way on God's green earth I would be doing that. Maybe some black people, you know, who have that like, we're reclaiming. No, you ain't reclaiming the damn thing. No, this woman murdered her husbands. That is not romantic, and I would not want that pall hanging over my marriage and my wedding. But anyways, that's a little bit about Ms. Palmer. So she would actually be murdered by her slaves. I put in my script, her mortal coil was shuffled by her slaves, to put it in Shakespearean English. And the reason she would be murdered was due to the fact that she messed with one of her lovers, forced lovers, relatives, a niece of this man, and he didn't like that, so he got her up in her room, and you know, she thought she was about to get some, and instead he stabbed her to death, and she died. And they actually buried her on the property, which is wild to me. Like, it's wild because it's like, this woman was so horrible. I guess the logic was, you know, the lady of the house is missing, and there's more than likely nobody else running the plantation, like, on her level. So if we murder this white woman and like throw her in like the ocean, they're going to know it was the slaves. So she's buried on the property, and they did do some rituals to kind of keep her from getting too crazy. But I don't quite think those worked. Like today, if you look at her grave, there are 3 crosses. I think, yeah, is it 3? I have to look at my picture. I think it's 3. But the lady said that what they realized is that Annie was unhappy. So what they did was they left one cross off of her tomb, her grave, so she could like leave whenever she wanted. To which I'm like, I don't agree. I strongly disagree with that. Also, if you go there, you'll see all these like pennies, you know, around on her grave, and that is to keep that bitch in. And what the funny part is, so we had a bunch of black people on this tour, and when I tell you, collectively we had to have put like $10 and pennies on this woman's grave. Hell, I pulled out a nickel. I'm like, she ain't getting out of here. You're doing too much. No, ma'am. No, I heard how you used to be. You need in your people's parlance, you need a timeout. I turn and face the corner. I don't want to see your face. But that's a little bit about, the backstory. Also, my crazy superstitious ass in Jamaica. So I'm gonna describe the house for you. So the house is just beautifully ominous. It is what I would describe as Caribbean Gothic, which I think is a real term. It's like, I think it is it's a real sort of literary term, but I don't think they use it as far as architecture. So this house is done in the Georgian style, and the Georgian style is, y'all just Google like Bridgerton, or you can really just put in Georgian style on Google, and you'll basically see a lot of stuff related to Jane Austen, to of course Bridgerton, a lot of places here in Georgia on our Georgian style where I live. But it's a beautiful plantation home. I can't believe I'm saying, like, not that I can't believe I'm saying that. No, it is a beautiful home, and it has this gorgeous view of the Caribbean Sea. I mean, as a writer, and I've realized I've referenced this place in my writings, in my Pirates of the Caribbean fan fictions back in the day. I realized that I have, used this particular house as imagery, or inspiration imagery for the Caribbean. When I think of like a colonial Caribbean house, which is kind of dark given what she did to my ancestors. But this view of the Caribbean Sea is absolutely stunning. And it's kind of creepy because of the story. Like, you think of this beautiful view, but then you're also thinking of this, what happened at this house. And the house itself, like I say, it's a gorgeous home. But let's move on. So, one of the things I noticed is that all the windows in the house were open. And I know part of it is we were there in May, and it was the temperature of the sun in Jamaica. So it was pretty hot. But also, I feel like that feels like a spiritual thing as well. Like, to keep the atmosphere in the house as light and airy as possible. But if you know the stories, like, maybe because I was front loaded with the story and had known the story since I was little, when I went in there, I was like, I don't care how far you open these windows, this place is still Scooby-Doo levels, like, creepy. Like, I'm just saying. But I just noticed that the windows were open, and there was this really nice constant breeze coming through. So I feel like I said, I feel like it's like cleansing in a way. But that didn't help because I still had the straight up heebie-jeebies. And one other thing I noticed when I was walking up the stairs into the house is that the grounds are silent. Like, it's so quiet. Like, there was a dude painting the outside, the back part of the house. And normally when people work, they have music going, he was silent as the grave. Like, even the trees. So there was like a lot of palm trees. There's, I think, it's not a China berry tree. I forget what that tree is called. It was silent. It's like everybody, because they have people that were selling stuff on the outside, and even those people, it's like they were whispering. They were actually stationed near her grave, and I was like, y'all some brave ones. But like, it's like we would talk like this. We were talking real low. So that is the creepy factor of the house and the grounds. Now, my mom was with me because this was actually her Deltaversary. She's a member of Delta Sigma Theta. And so she was there with her sorority sister, and then we had a friend of the family with us, and we were all on this cruise. So they didn't go with us, but my mom was with me at this house. And she's just like, I think she's as sensitive as me. And she's just like, something's up with this house. And I'm like, maybe. I didn't want to tell her because I knew she would say no. She didn't want to go. But once our tour guide starts telling the story, my mom gave me this look. She did the slow look at me like, I can't freaking believe you done brought me in this Scooby-Doo ass house. Like, are you serious? But she took it in stride, and we were walking around, and we went on the first floor, and the first floor was pretty innocuous. Excuse me. Until we got to the portrait of Annie Palmer. So there's this portrait of this horrible woman, and she's sitting there And they said if you know, first of all, the eyes are said to, like, the painting's done in a way where the eyes are said to follow you around. And the thing is, when I was taking a picture of it, and I'm like, I swear to God, this woman can see through my soul right now. Like, plus I've been talking all the trash about her on my ill-fated YouTube video that I did about the Caribbean. But what's more creepy about that particular portrait is that if you look at so she's in the portrait, and it's, you know, it's a portrait, and then there's like three or four kids, but the kids look very stiff, like they don't look normal. And the reason is because, and this was confirmed by both this article that I had read and then, like, by our tour guide, those aren't real kids. Annie Palmer never had kids. Those quote-unquote kids are dummies. That skeeved me out. Like, I was well and truly skeeved out at that point. Like, I'm like, yeah, we've hit peak skeevosity. So when I heard that, I was like, all right, let's go upstairs. Like, I love the way she said it, and then everybody was like, oh shit, this bitch crazy. And then we went upstairs, and I believe, like, that haunted us on the way back to the hotel, or not to the hotel, but to the cruise ship. Anyways, so we get upstairs to the second floor, and we're seeing the rooms where she poisoned 3 of her husbands. Now, or all 3, she only was married, I think she was only married like 3 times, but I will give Annie Palmer this. Homegirl had lady balls, because she murdered one man, or two of her husbands in the same room. Like, not at the same time, but like in the same room. In the same way. Like, I think she stabbed him, I think. And so, like, there was, you know, imagine those slaves had to clean that shit up twice. That blood up twice, right? Which I'm like, that's crazy. This woman go crazy. You know, like, oh my God. So this is where, like, it really hits the fan. So we go into her room. Her room was painted red, and I was like, is this a choice by the historical parks and recreation people of Jamaica, like the restoration people, or was this Annie Palmer's, like, real favorite color, red, right? Because it is like, the color red in that room, it was given, like, you ever get your blood drawn, and you know, look at, if you're weird like me, you look at the tube where the blood's coming through and oxygen is hit it, so it's turning redder. It was that color. And that's when I was like, I gotta get out of here. So I'm looking around, and then, like, I get kind of transfixed by the view. And I'm looking out at the ocean, and I start to get a little sympathy for our little crazy woman. I start to feel bad, because I'm like, you got this gorgeous view of the Caribbean. You couldn't just be happy with that. You couldn't be happy on being waited on hand and foot, you know, by these people that you bought. You just couldn't, it wasn't enough. You had to go murdering folk, right? And in that moment, I start to hear the creaking of the wood floor, because, you know, there's old wood floors in this house. And I why did I turn around? I turn around, and I see there is a rocking chair rocking slowly by itself. And at first, because I was still kind of like, oh God, that feels so gorgeous, right? at first I was like, oh, somebody must have sat there. But then I was like, no, you wouldn't sit in a historical chair. That's crazy. Like, you know, sizes are different, and that's probably a fragile chair. And it's rocking. It's like, like someone's sitting in it. Y'all, at that point, I exited stage left. I ran out of that room so fast that that I almost took out this older gentleman. He was a Japanese guy. I almost took him down, and his wife was laughing because she was like, "Yeah, you must have seen some shit." I have never scurried that fast in my life, and I get to the tour guide, and she's like, "What's up?" And I'm like, "There's a chair and it's rocking," and she was like, "Oh, it's probably the wind." So yeah, so like I said, I survived Rose Hall, and so all the stories that this happened in, or that like these all occurred on the same cruise. Well, kind of the same cruise. One, the last two stories did not actually. So our next port of call was San Juan, Puerto Rico, and this ghost story wasn't so much. It wasn't scary. It was like unnerving though. And this occurs at Castillo San Felipe de Moro. So this place, it's a really cool fort in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and this is another place I have been like just so excited to go to, because ironically enough, these first two stories I had seen on the like OG Haunted History of the History Channel. You know, the History Channel is good. It's in the 90s, right? So we ended up going to the fort finally, and I remember I was with my cousin, and I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna be so lit, oh my god, history, and she's just looking at me like, please stop nerding out, it's getting weird, it's too hot for this. She's like, it's too hot for this. So what's cool about the Castillo is that they have these drawings that they call them graffiti, that these soldiers and prisoners would have sketched out, because you know they're on this hot ass island, for, you know, they're stationed, the prisoners are there, but the soldiers are stationed there. But I would consider these a work of art. The three pictures that I was excited to see, I actually have on my wall, because I did take pictures and recently got them printed out and framed. You might have seen the pictures on my Instagram, but if you look at them, they're like legitimate sketches. And what's amazing about these particular three sketches was that it was done with like a piece of like lead, like a rock, and the blood of, they actually said it was this prisoner's blood. So the prisoner who did these drawings was a captain who had been captured and placed in confinement in the Castillo. And it's, so let me set the scene for you. So, you know, you walk into this huge court, like this huge parade ground. And side note to my romantics out there, they do weddings there, and that's a dream wedding. That is a dream. The way they set it up, just Google it. Let's get back to the ghost. So you go into this dark tunnel, and it's very dank, it's humid, but it's kind of like cool as far as temperature, because you're going sort of into the ground, or into like the lower part of the fort. And they have these little, like, they're like half length alcoves, and they have these little lights, like candles, almost like tea lights in them, right? And you're walking down this hallway, and it's pretty creepy in there. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not gonna hold you. It's like you get the tinglies around your like shoulders and your back, right, as you're walking. And there's these little rooms, and they're about the size of a bedroom. Pretty, small bedroom. But you have to consider too that like there were probably more than one prisoner in that room. So you can imagine how uncomfortable it would have been. But anyway, so I can't remember what number little casement or room this was, but you'll go into this room, and then they have these 3 drawings of galleons, or a type of ship, on the wall. And they've actually covered it like with like into like they've encased it basically, so you can't, people can't touch it and ruin the drawings, right? So I found this room, and I was over the moon. And I brought this ghost encounter on myself, because I was like, this is so pretty, oh my god, like I can't believe you did this is gorgeous. So as I'm saying this, I feel like somebody, like I feel like eyes on my mid back, right? And I just feel like it's coming from the corner of the room. And once again, like at Rose Hall, I turned like somebody was gonna be standing there, or sitting there, and no one's there. And so what I did was I took my pictures like a grown woman, and I cleared out of there. I was just like, bye, thanks for letting me take pictures. But I kind of get the feeling that whoever was there, if it was that captain, I feel like he might have been a little irked that people are coming to his space. Like, he's like, I'm already stuck here, and then like y'all just gonna roll up in here and like bother me. But like it just felt like I was in someone's space. So I left and walked out. And the cool thing though is when later on, when I was actually looking up some more about the fort, some more information, you'll see that there are many of these kind of drawings around the fort. As I said, earlier, people are stationed there for a long time, so they're gonna draw. And it's funny, they call them graffiti. Like, some of them, it is like chicken scratch, but like some of the other ones, like these people were like drawing like whole ships, like gonna make a Pirates of the Caribbean reference. Like, I kid you not, like one person, I swear, this is like the freaking Black Pearl. Like, I'm like, did Jack Sparrow roll past here? I wouldn't be surprised. It's Puerto Rico. It's a cool place to go. But when we go back, I think we're going back this summer. I'm gonna see if I can get some more pictures, and I'll post them on my Paint and Hate Instagram, and on my regular Instagram too. But that was my own personal experience. Now, other people have said that, or there's a legend rather. Oh wait, no. So there was a Boy Scout troop that stayed there back in the day, like probably in the 90s, and they said that they heard just the most unnerving sounds all night. And it's weird because it's in the city, like it's like in historic San Juan, like downtown. But they said when they heard these sounds, like everybody's asleep, all the stores are closed, they would hear like moaning and like chains and just what I call the absolutely not sounds. Another story is of this particular area of the fort. It's like a guard post that is supposedly a portal. They said, the story goes that like since the 18th century or before that, or whenever the fort was built, they say that like they have had soldiers be stationed down there to stand guard over the ocean, to see the incoming you know, enemies were trying to come in to attack San Juan, and they said that, you know, they would relieve them in the morning, you know, and nobody would be there. I didn't go down to that part because I don't think you can walk down there. They probably blocked it off. Cause let me tell you something. People of color, we are some superstitious ass people. They heard that story and was like, yeah, nah, we ain't doing that. But I think I did see that particular little area. I can't, maybe. No, I didn't. No, I saw another one. But yeah, that's one of the stories. I mean, there's some other stories about like a bride, but everybody has that story of like a, you know, bride with her husband or whatever. But those two, those three, so my personal experience, the Boy Scouts experience, and then like the historical experience of the soldiers disappearing. That's some crazy-ish. Like that's pretty scary. And I was gonna ask some staff about the ghost stories, but like my mom and them started complaining, so we left and we had lunch and went back to the ship. Side note: San Juan, Puerto Rico, period, is like my favorite, one of my favorite places in the Caribbean. I don't know what it is about that island, but I love every inch of it. Oh my God, like I absolutely love it down there. I had a mind to move down there, but my Spanish is super rusty, and just in case I needed to use it, you know, I knew I wouldn't be able to, so I didn't pursue moving down there. But like, oh my God, y'all, people from Puerto Rico, you got a beautiful homeland. Cherish it. So now we're going to switch to we're gonna switch to two more stories that I have. One is regarding, so this first one that I'm gonna tell y'all is regarding this this plantation, yet another plantation in St. Kitts. And this place was a farmer's sugar plantation. Now, this is one of those places where it's I don't know how to explain it. So this plantation was a sugar plantation, and we had actually, so how we got to this place was, of course, a tour of the area that we had stopped at on this cruise ship. And this one is my first like creepy Caribbean experience. So what had happened was, you know, we stopped and we could like walk around the grounds, and I had found, me and some other people actually, it wasn't just me, have found the boiling house. And the way this place is shaped, or the way this place is situated, is it's a short, like shorter than short. Like it's, I don't think that anybody was meant to go in there really, like, you know, when it was a working place, because at the top are these huge copper vats, and I think they actually placed them there to show you like how it would have been set up. But I went in there and took some pretty cool pictures, but when I was in there, I got the feeling that like it was like someone told me, you should be in here. And I knew surface level that sugar plantations were not, like, they were not at all safe. Like, no plantation was safe, but they say you did not want to be on a sugar plantation because it was brutal work and, you know, brutal living conditions, obviously. But So I heeded whoever that was, a concerned ancestor, I'm sure, because they're like, why are you down here? So I walked out, and I'm just like, I guess I look like, I guess I had that look of like, oh boy, you know, like did I just experience something? And so I went over to where they had like some vendors at this place, and it's like a park. So I went over to one of the vendors, and she's looking at me crazy, like, are you okay? And I'm like, something weird about that boiling house. And she just says, oh, you felt it too. And so I remember she had 2 little kids with her. She kind of told the little kids to go and play with some other kids that were there, and they did. And she starts telling me about like how some of her relatives had worked on this plantation when it was running, and all the crazy stuff, and ancestors and all the crazy stuff that had gone on there. And we started to kind of swap stories. As I said, I didn't know personal stories, obviously, in terms of like my family, but I knew, you know, historical background and stories that I had read about, like people getting burned, people dropping from heat exhaustion, that kind of thing. And she was like, you know, the boiling house was the worst place you could be, like, you know, because you could get burned, you could get, you know, like I said, people would pass out from exhaustion. She was just kind of like, yeah, she was confirming it. And she said that a lot of tourists who have come up there, she said especially the black tourists, have just like, they don't feel good. That's what it comes down to. And she was saying like how she noticed a lot of us we would be there, you know, walking around and just kind of like, you know, looking, taking everything in, and then she said they just go back on their respective tour bus and they sit there. Now part of it, I'm sure, is because it's hot, you know, but the other part is, she said they almost, it's like they feel something, right? And she was saying she's the same way. She was like, she had been going up there to sell different things like drinks and stuff and chips and all that kind of thing. And she said, no, every time she's like, she always gets like a creepy feeling. It's like she's kind of, you know, skeeved out, right? And so we left because like after that experience, I did not walk around the rest of the way. Everybody else was walking around taking selfies. As soon as homie said this is a old sugar plantation, I was like, I ain't taking no pictures like that. Like, I'm not taking selfies. Like, I'm not doing that, you know. So this is the same cruise too. Little segue here, where, because this was my 30th birthday cruise. So we you know, started out, our cruise left out of Port Canaveral, and we had this Billy Badass captain. I say this because to this day I believe this man skirted us past the Bermuda Triangle, or at least through a tiny part of it. Which, I mean, the route we were going, I don't think it can be quite avoided, honestly. But the reason I say this is because we it was late at night. I don't know, you know, why I started with we, but it was late at night, and I remember, the reason I remember this is because this was the first time I had like fully watched a Rick and Morty episode. Like, I know, oddly specific, and I was still up. My mom had gone to sleep, and I remembered it was about 1 a.m, and I started getting this horrible headache. I mean, it was bad. Like, it was like blinding, and I'm like, okay, that's weird. And so I got up, took a Tylenol, and laid back down thinking it'll go away. So then again, as soon as I lay down and kind of get comfortable, the TV goes out. Like, everything in the room went out. And I'm like, okay. You know, because I went to look at my phone, and I was just like, so I was like, oh, well, the TV went out, you know, I'll listen to some, like, relaxation stuff and, you know, go to sleep. My phone wouldn't work. I turned that thing on and off conservatively like 18 million times. It would not, it would not reset. So after about 20, 30 minutes, the TV comes back on and everything's working fine again. And my phone comes back on. It finally, like, I guess, catches and resets. And so I'm sitting there and I, get the TV back to, well, I didn't turn it back to Cartoon Network, which is, where it was on. But it had reset, the TV had reset back to the map. Because they always show, if you've ever been on a cruise, they usually have one channel that is the camera of like the bow of the ship or other parts of the ship. It'll be a couple of channels. Then there is a channel that shows you your course, like where y'all are in relation to the next destination and in relation to where you left from. So I am staring at this map and I'm like, wait a minute. So I snapped a picture and I got on Google and I looked at the picture, like comparing, and I'm like, we just went through part of the freaking triangle. Absolutely not. So then I'm like, nah, you're sleepy. I'm like, you turn 30 in a couple days. You're old, you're tired, right? So then I text my dad, and my dad is a night owl. And he's jokingly like, why are you texting me? And I said, Dad, look at this map. I said, maybe, am I tripping? Like, am I having a moment? And he comes back with me like 5-10 minutes later, and he's like, oh my God, you went through the freaking triangle. And at this point, my jaw, I couldn't, y'all. I got up and started pacing, and now my mom is waking up. She's like, what the hell? She's like, what are you doing? Are you sick? Because also I had gotten sick with oysters like 3 days before that. Or like, no, 2 days before that one, that incident. And she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, we just went to the triangle. Dad confirmed it. What the fuck? And she's like, what? My mom's reaction to like the supernatural is either really chill or like Keanu Reeves. What? Like she goes full Bill and Ted. And she's like, no. And I'm like, look at the pictures. So I show her the pictures. And she's like, this like she is like, I have a complaint to make with Carnival. So we're sitting there and we're just like, oh my God, fuck, So we're like visible. We're both sort of freaking out. And I get back in bed and we discuss this. We're like, oh my God, like this man just tried to end us. Like, I cannot believe. And then eventually we're like, you know what? We still here. Or are we? And I text my friend too, who's also a night owl. She liked to like sit up at night and sketch and like paint. And so I text her, and normally she wouldn't text back if she was like in a project, which is, understandable. But this time she was like, did you see the Flying Dutchman? I'm like, don't fucking say that. She was like, did you see the Flying Dutchman? And I was like, no. And I didn't see St. Elmo's fire either. If you're a sailor or a nautical nerd such as myself, you will know what that is. But I was like, and Will Turner did not pull up on the Flying Dutchman. Thank you very much. I wouldn't be texting you if he was here. So now she's freaking out on land. And she tells her mom, because we're like, both of our families are like frequent cruisers. She tells her mom texts me the next, girl, what the fuck? I was like, it was I was like, the TV freaked out. Like, I relayed all the tea. I spilled all the tea. Luckily, when we went back, we avoided the triangle. And I am here to tell you that story. And I'll be telling my grandkids this story too. They'll probably be like, all right, Grandma, take your pill. All right, that's enough, sis. But, yeah. So that was the last of my Caribbean Terrors. I'm going to call this Caribbean Terrors Part 1 because I'm pretty sure I got some more on the horizon coming up. So feel free to like and subscribe and leave a comment. Sorry if this was rambly and conversation-y. That's how I like to do my podcast and honestly my videos, my YouTube videos. So you can follow me on Instagram at paint_it-haint21. I'm also on Blue Sky. Just type in my name, Adri Hayes, or you can type in Paint It Haint. Sometimes I'm on Tumblr too. And I'm also on Threads. So you can check me out there as well. And I will see you on the next Paint It Haint YouTube channel and Paint It Haint pod. Thanks for listening. Love y'all. Bye.